Welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to take a look at some spooky games in time for Halloween. I am going to list 5 perfect games you can bring to your table for the spookiest of the seasons. Now I will say it is very difficult to scare somebody with a board game. It's a lot easier with movies and jump scares and moving pictures. So do take this list with a grain of salt. They're going to be horror adjacent stuff. They're going to be stuff that have a horror theme to them. And something that does fit in with Halloween, but it might not necessarily scare you. As always, make sure you drop your suggestions in the comments below so other people and other players can find them as well. Maybe drop them before you see mine so you can compare them, or you can offer other thoughts. So don't just drop the games, let us know why you think they are perfect for Halloween. Starting off with number 5, Gloom. Now, is there anything scarier than family time? Of course I'm kidding. But this is a very dark and gloomy game. Basically, you play as a family, and the idea of the game is to give them the worst time possible before finally killing them off. You're going to play cards to give them minus points. You can play pluses on your opponents to slow them down, and then eventually you kill them off. Now, the way you do this is, well, at least how we play it, we tell a story as we go. So, for example, a card could say, stung by bees. You tell a story to that, and each card you play on top. You evolve the story and it becomes more of a Halloween type story than just playing cards and the gameplay, which I do think adds a lot to this. So if your group would be more into the role playing, definitely pick up Gloom. If not, maybe skip this one and let's take a look at number 4. In at number 4, I've gone for Ghost Stories. Now this one is a co-op, so normally in horror movies, you are teamed up against the monster. It is a little scarier when you're alone, but basically in this one, you're playing as a group trying to vanquish ghosts. Now that sounds pretty good to me. You're going to dart around the map, picking up bonuses, defeating ghosts, taking Buddha statues for some reason. The theme fits well anyway, and there is, if you look at some of the cards honestly, the horror of the cards and the art is, I will say the art and design in this game is gorgeous. So some of the cards are incredible. There's big bosses, there's big monsters, there's creepy ghosts. If you're looking for a horror game, it doesn't get much closer than this. Well, I mean, my 3rd, 2nd and 1st place might disagree with that. It's a good game anyway. If your group is into co-op, this is one for them. Coming in at number 3, I have gone for one that I actually picked up myself recently, and that is Mysterium. Now, the idea of this one is you're a ghost. For some reason you can't remember who killed you, you've got amnesia, you've forgot memories. I don't know how ghosts work. Luckily for you, a group of mediums have come to your aid. So your friends are going to play as mediums, you're going to play as a ghost. In any order, you can move it around the table to make it a little more fun. And basically you have a deck of abstract cards. Now these cards, I mean, they've caused a lot of arguments already. I'm not going to say who, I'm not going to say why. I will say red cardigan though, just in case anyone from my group watches this. Basically, the ghost is going to play those abstract cards, they're going to give them to each person to try and work out who did the murder, where it was done, and with what weapon. So it's kind of like a Cluedo on steroids, but it is a lot more fun with a lot more to it. Now each round you're going to make attempts at guessing from that card and the other cards that have been played, who did it, where they did it, and how. If by chance you all get to the end game, you're going to work together to finally find out who killed the ghost. And if you manage that, you win. It's not the best explanation of it. It's a lot more fun in practice. Playing the cards, people trying to work out what could that possibly mean. Basically, they're looking at pictures, trying to match them up. It's so entertaining. It's a lot of fun. It's a laugh. So I would say this one is for a lot of players as well. I think it can go up to 8 or 7. With one playing as the ghost obviously, so for bigger groups this game is perfect. Coming in at number 2, now I couldn't decide for this one. So there is the Walking Dead game by Z-Man Games, which came out, I think it's 2011. I love this game. I don't know many other people that own it, let alone like it. So I didn't want to throw this one on because it does seem like more of a niche taste. But if you are into the Walking Dead, I would suggest that one. But my actual number 2 is for the better gameplay, for the better components, for just a more interesting and interactive experience for your players, Dead of Winter. Now in this game you're in a zombie apocalypse as a group. You're trying to survive, you need to gather food, you need to find other survivors, you need to protect yourself, you need to barricade, All of those things you would find in a zombie movie and more. Although there is a spanner in the works. At the start of the game, one of you could be dealt a traitor card, which means you're actually working against the others to complete your objectives. Each player also has their own objective, so it can get very interesting when, for example, someone holds on to food rather than sharing it. That could be their objective, but you don't know that. And it creates this really interesting dynamic of distrust in a zombie apocalypse world, which is what makes the TV show The Walking Dead so good. And it's what makes this board game a must-have as well. So that is my number 2. It could have easily been my number 1. But for bigger groups, I think it goes up to 5 players. For groups that enjoy the traitor aspect, again, it is a must-have. Perfect for Halloween, but this is one of those games I would recommend picking up anyway. So, coming in at number 1, what I deem the best horror game, the best game to play on Halloween. And this is a game I've played, I would say probably 20 times, and it still hasn't got boring. And there is a reason for that, which I'll get into shortly. That is Betrayal at House on the Hill. Now, you've probably heard of this game. If you haven't, go buy it. Stop this video here, buy it, then come back and tell me how much you enjoy it when it arrives. The game is basically, as a group, you enter a haunted house. You start searching around trying to look for things. Maybe you find a spear. Maybe you find a sacrificial dagger. Maybe you find a madman with a dog. There is a weird combination of stuff that can happen, but eventually you will find too many omens in this house and a haunt will begin. What that means is it turns out one of you are actually a turncoat. You've lured your group into this house, and then depending on the place it happens, how many omens and who did it, there's I think 50 to 60, there may be more, I'm not entirely sure, different haunts that could happen. So you could easily play this game like we've played 20 odd times, and I genuinely don't think we've had a duplicate, maybe once or twice, but we play it so rarely and it's sort of spaced out. It's just one of those games that you can play forever. I honestly do believe that. I think it's one that needs to go in every collection, especially for Halloween. If you haven't got this game, now is the time to pick it up. Just a little addition, I have just finished this video. I'm currently editing it actually. I've remembered a couple of games that not only deserve to be in here, but one that should actually be number 1. It's one of my favourite board games of all time. I did want to do a few honourable mentions as well, just for anyone that's made it to this point. I really do appreciate you watching this far into the video. But I will say one that I've not played but I've heard good stuff about, it fits the horror theme and Halloween particularly well, is Horrified. Now it's a game where you're chased by the universal monsters, so Dracula, Wolfman, the Mummy, all of those really rememberable and iconic creatures. So I do think that's one I'm going to pick up in the future, and it might be one you guys want to grab, but it is not why I've just restarted this camera. The game I wanted to mention, I would say in my top 5 games of all time, definitely my top 1 for a horror game, and one that you need to play for Halloween. One of my favourite horror movies of all time. I would say it only is beaten out by, I would say The Thing is my favourite movie, but this comes second. And that movie, or board game I should say, is Jaws. Now in this game, you are going to play as 3 versus 1, so I would say this is just for groups that enjoy that type of gameplay. But basically, one person is going to play as Jaws, the shark, Bruce, whatever you want to call him. The other 3 are going to play as the main characters. So we've got Quint, we've got Hooper, and we've got Brody. I'm fairly sure they're the names, but I'm not going to look it up. I will die a little inside if I rewatch this and then look them up though. But you play as those characters, so the sheriff, the guy in the boat, and the expert, the shark expert. So it is really interesting how they get different abilities to aid them in what they need to do. Like the sheriff can close beaches, he can make stuff happen for the other people to track the shark. Obviously one has a boat so he can move around and follow the shark easier. Some have weapons, some have radars. It's really an interesting 3 versus 1 mechanic on how the abilities work, but also the shark has abilities. So at times he can swim faster. His movement is hidden basically, and you're trying to work out where he is before he kills too many swimmers. Now, whether you do that or not just helps you in the end game. So the end game, the board flips over and you're in the boat and the shark is attacking. So there's a chance you're knocked in, there's a chance you're eaten, there's a chance you could kill it. It's all of the stuff you want in a horror game. It really is, I would say, the quintessential horror game. It's a board game that you need to play, if only for how much I love it, Please give it a try. Let me know what you think. Yeah, I cannot believe I forgot that. I had to turn the camera back on. I was just going to post it as it was, but I mean, it's darker. You can see all the lights gone now. This clip isn't going to look as good, but wow. Yeah, easily. Jaws. Jaws is my number one. In the comments below, put I can't believe Jaws was your number one or something for anyone that watched to the end, but not quite to the end, and you've just seen this little extra. Maybe it'll confuse them, maybe it won't, maybe I should have just put Jaws in at number one. Hopefully you've enjoyed this list. As I said at the start, let me know in the comments any horror games you think I've missed, anything you think I've maybe wrong with, maybe shouldn't be in here. Very interested to hear your thoughts. I hope everyone watching this has a great Halloween. I mean, it's only the start of October, but I don't know when you're watching this. It could be Halloween Day. So hopefully you have a great time. Make sure you subscribe and like if you've enjoyed this and want to see more tabletop content. But I will catch you in the next one.